Hey everybody, this is Jeeves here. I'm your old composer here at the World Music Reaction and Review channel. And for the very first time in my OST journey with video games, I'm actually circling back to a game to listen to another track. Now, I will be doing a long form on Halo. There's that video there you can take a look at if you want to make some suggestions. But for here, I wanted to go back and revisit Doom, because I've learned a lot, quite a bit on this journey, not only about all the great composers and games and all the wonderful things, but of composer Mick Gordon. And of course, we all know that he has been, going through some very challenging things in public, in his professional life. But because of that, I realized and I learned that the Doom track I did was not of his best work, per se, because of that particular situation. That's what I understood it to be. So I'm doing one that I know is 100% backed by Mick, because I'm on Mick's channel actually doing this reaction. And also one last thing I do want to say about Mick Gordon. I was very stoked to have a brief spark of communication with him and hoping to bring him on a podcast in the next few months. So let's keep our fingers crossed with that. He's very busy, as you can imagine. All right, so what am I doing today? I am doing a track that was also pretty heavily suggested that I do of Mick Gordon's. It really represents, apparently, Mick Gordon. And this track is called Rip and Tear. So here we go. This is from Doom Eternal, or is it Doom 2016? Oh, geez, I'm going to get smoked in the comments for not doing my homework. Well, it doesn't matter. The track that I'm doing is Rip and Tear. Let's do this. All right. This is so up my alley because of my heavy metal channel. This kind of, excuse me, genty chugging that's going on here is so intoxicating and empowering in of itself, without even playing a video game. You know, you listen to a track like this, you get supercharged, because it really does speak to the bottom pit of like root canal style, angst. And what I mean by that is, that kind of, really make you want to clench your jaw when you're listening to this. What I love that I hear that Mick is doing that I have not heard yet on any video game OSTs is the dynamic use of left and right, pan left and right, and how he's deciding to switch up arrangements. Like what we just heard, like I was about to stop and I went, oh shit, that was sick. Was that he had a guitar here that was not muted. So he's doing not chugs, but he's definitely hitting, but he's doing these other accents with really, super muted chugs on this side. And also the fact that he uses different tones and different sounds. So whatever he's driving his guitar through, whatever amp sim or whatever it is, the definitive choice of using kind of a kind of a scooped sound on this side, where he's more full and loaded on this side, and everything that he's doing is accented by, this is something else really super cool that I learned that Mick does that I really enjoy, is he uses soundscape. So soundscape doesn't necessarily mean that it has a tone to it, but it has a percussive value that's very gritty. You know, I mean, that sounds stupid, but how he uses that in conjunction with his arrangements, which I think is a signature thing with him and his compositions on Doom, because the other one that I listened to as well, that's like a signature thing, is that cross-up of, you know, hardcore soundscape, you know, heavy digi sounds in a percussive use, as well as there's other things that are going on there that have tonal value. And of course, another great thing about this kind of composition that really gets me going is the switch up in not tempo, not time, but going from cut time to regular time to double time. All right. You know what I'm saying? Switching that up too, but still keeping the guitar locked in a particular pattern and not being really super overly rhythmic into the changes, because I believe that has a lot to do with also keeping the player settled in the pit while they're doing what they're doing. You know, maybe that's part of the magic about game composition that I'm learning, is that, you know, it's not about the music, as composers know, but on the other hand, I think it's such a unique opportunity for composers that composers have for games that you may not have for movies, is to be able to dictate that kind of energy while actually being interactive with the game. I don't know. I yammer on because this is Death Wish coffee. Jeez, what great use for all that swelling soundscape I was telling you about. Heavy digital grinding sounds that he brought up towards the end of it. That little breakdown area too, this is something that I've learned about video games, that at what point gamers are playing in that section there. So I can't, since I don't play, I can only imagine this. It was like a super creep out, lurking kind of vibe that was going on there. But once again, you know, we're in one key in this whole thing, right? So he's chugging in this duh, duh, that's the key right there, through the whole track. But his change-ups and what he's doing with his arrangements and the little kicks in time that happen now and then, you saw me respond going, oh, that was good. Where there seemed to have been a one-beat lag, you know, and he dropped off for a second and then picked up, still staying in tempo, but gave us a little bit of a hiccup in there. But through that period, he was once again going back into that scooped out radio. We call it kind of like a radio tone, where it sounds like when you play guitar, it sounds very small and, you know, not very fat and wide and stuff like that. And he kept on doing these unique things with his guitar tones as he changed up the arrangement. And then at that point too, you can hear not only soundscape, but there were some other tonal things that he was doing to keep that energy going on in there. Excuse me. But this was super, super badass. As a matter of fact, before I dig out, there was a part of me that's going, you know what's great about this is that I've always wanted to hear, let's say, on some of my more metal prog bands that I do on my heavy metal channel. By the way, I'll put that link down below for all you rockers that want to go hang out over there. That section that stretches out, and he was doing those unique things, there's times where I wish that some of the heavy metal prog bands that I listen to on the other channel would take the time out and do certain things like that as well. Maybe not all digital, you know, maybe being more organic as a band as they like to be, even if they're anti-synth or anything like that, but these long, just these powerful stretched out sections to pull us in. Because prog is not usually ever a 3.5-minute song with hooks and all that. Prog takes that liberty, you know, to stretch things out with arrangements. Doing what Mick was doing there, in my head I was going, oh my God, this is such a badass bed of tracks that he was doing that I can imagine just, you know, another melody going there, getting darker and cynical and stuff, and some other different things. But I also understand from what I'm learning is there are a lot of things that you, like I said earlier, you don't, it's such a fine line between getting the job done, you know, to, you know, plus 20 fire damage like this, and then doing just too much. You know, so this was just an amazing example of mixed talent. Anyhow, thank you so much for hanging out. Once again, if you are a heavy metal fan, though, I do have my heavy metal track. It's called, or channel. It's called The Key of Jeeves, and it's called the Decomposer Lounge. You get it? Old composer, decomposing. If you guys want to support me, you know these videos do not monetize my channel because of copyright claims. You can buy me a cup of coffee. You want to check out the headsets I use, the link's down below. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So you guys have a great weekend. I have much, much more OSTs and fun music coming for you next week. Take care. See ya!